This is a puff pastry bake, and I'll come clean and I'll be honest with you, I have never done this before. What I have here is some leftover ingredients that are floating about. I have some cheese, I have some sausage meat, got some bacon, got some black pudding, got some frankfurter sausages, okay, out of the tin. I've got some mushrooms, some sage and some rosemary. And here, a little bit of chutney. Bit of double cream, and I'll show you what that's for. It's just to help give a glaze. And I'm going to make a kind of puff pastry bake thing. A bit like a sausage roll, but inverted, the other way round, okay? So here, I've got pre-rolled puff pastry, okay? Now onto that, I am going to spread the sausage meat. Soften it up just a little. I mean, it is essentially a sausage roll, but it is gonna be what feels like a super posh one. You could get sausages and take them out of their skins and do this. Probably 2 sausages worth. Trying to give a relatively even coating. And the next thing, I take some of this chutney. I'm just gonna put a layer of this on. Spread that. So the herbs I'm going to put on are rosemary and a bit of sage. I'm going to chop it not super fine, but with a bit of texture, but you want it to break up just a little bit. And sprinkle that all over the chutney and the sausage meat. Next in is black pudding. I'm just going to kind of crumble it into the mix. Just got some mushrooms that have been washed gently and dried, thinly sliced, okay? Stick them on. Make sure everywhere gets a bit of a covering from them. And then some cheddar cheese, and I'm just going to do some thin slices of it, okay? And give it this lovely gooey cheesy centre. Some streaky bacon, and layer that lengthways up, all right? And the next thing that's going to go in are our frankfurter sausages. Probably going to take about 3 of them. I'm going to roll it onto itself. Let the paper release itself from the puff pastry. Squeeze it nice and tight with your hands. Just create this roll. And then, with a pastry brush, just get a little bit double cream. Gonna brush all the sides, okay? You wanna go all the way around. And this is quite important because this is gonna help it kind of stick together and give it a little bit of a glaze. So I'm just gonna carve this now, but I'm gonna carve it through the paper, all right? Because the paper will act as a bit of a buffer, and it's okay because we'll unravel it in a minute, but you can see how lovely all those flavors are going to be. And I'm doing it around about an inch thick. Now that it's carved, I've got my oven proof ready to go pan here. I'm just going to put a knob of butter in the pan and let it melt. So as that butter is melting, I'm going to unravel, or take the paper off, not unravel, my puff pastry and the rolls. I'm just going to sit them in this pan. I'm going to pack them in. As that last one goes in, just use this paper and a little press into the pan and into the butter that's just beginning to cook. And then at this point, just going to give it a last brush all across the top, some of this double cream, little sprinkle of rock salt. It's going to go into a preheated oven. This is 220 degrees, it's quite hot. We're going to bake it for about half an hour, and then I'm going to turn the temperature down of the oven and continue the baking. So 220 now, half an hour. Let's see what happens. Look at that, it's baking away, but it's not cooked, okay? It's still quite soggy in the middle. So I need to cook it for longer, but I don't want it to burn. I'm going to put it back in the oven and turn the temperature right down, 165 degrees centigrade. I'm going to bake it for another 20-25 minutes. It's just had another 20-25 minutes on 165. Give it a little release whilst it's hot. And as it cools down, it will just shrink in just a little. Okay, this has been sat here now for around about 3 or 4 minutes, so I've got fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to turn it out. So I'm going to put a plate on top of the pan. I'm going to get this. We're going to keep our fingers crossed, and we're going to flip it over. We're going to take the top off, and it's going to look beautiful and perfect. I'm going to give myself 8 out of 10 because we got a big bit missing here. However, we will be able to remove that from the pan, stick it back in. Shh. Don't tell anyone, no one will know. I mean, look at it. How great does that look? What a sausage roll. Got here some orange marmalade. Gonna stick that into a saucepan, about 2 tablespoons. Little splash of water, temperature's fairly high. I'm gonna melt the marmalade and the water together. I'm just gonna spoon all over the top to give it a lovely shine and a glaze. And this is just a beautiful, lovely way of finishing this. I'm just gonna leave that 5 or 6 minutes for that marmalade to settle in and that glaze to just firm up just a little, and that's ready to serve. I bet you've never seen a sausage roll like that before, because I've been a chef for nearly 30 years and I've never seen a sausage roll like that before. The recipe for this, the method, is also in the comments below, so please have a go at cooking it. Subscribe to the channel and we'll be doing plenty more cooking like this. See you very soon.